Stacey Abrams made history as the first black woman to be a major party nominee for governor, and she could be the first black woman ever elected governor in the United States. She ran on what she calls an unapologetically progressive campaign in a red state, Georgia, and won the Democratic primary by a landslide, 76.5 to 23.5%. We first profiled Abrams last year when she announced her candidacy and her strategy to reach more than 1 million registered left-leaning voters who just don't show up at the polls. Our correspondent Jessica Gomez has her story.
Knocking on doors in suburban Atlanta, Democrat Stacey Abrams hoping to become Georgia's next governor.
And we have a plan that would create 45,000 jobs.
They are doors that have a way of opening when they haven't for those before her.
If she is elected, she will not only be the first African-American female governor in our state's history, but in the history of the United States.
Abrams is used to being the first African-American girl to be valedictorian at her high school. She went on to Spelman College, the University of Texas, and got her law degree from Yale. Raised with 6 siblings, she says her poor but educated parents instilled the idea of civic responsibility from an early age.
They wanted us to be very intentional and very thoughtful about the role we played in the world. They used to say, no matter how little we had, there was someone with less. It was our job to serve that person.
That sense of service led Abrams to the state legislature and more firsts. She was the first African-American to lead in the Georgia House of Representatives and the first female leader in the history of the Georgia General Assembly.
This is the state to watch. We are further ahead in terms of our demographic changes than people realize.
Instead of turning potentially disillusioned Republicans, Abrams' campaign is targeting that changing demographic. Some estimates predict people of color will be the majority in Georgia within the next 10 years.
These are eligible voters. These are people who simply need to be asked to vote. Georgia today has more than 1 million registered eligible voters, Democratic leaning, who simply don't vote. My job is to say what you want can be achieved by voting. And so, yes, I would be happy to convince Republicans to vote Democratic. But what I'm not going to do is pretend to be a Republican to make that happen. I'm not going to pretend not to believe in labor. I'm not going to pretend not to be pro-choice. I'm not going to pretend that climate change isn't real. Right now, Ryan's in the lead. Okay.
Known as Aunt Stacey to her nieces and nephews, Abrams is quick-witted and a self-proclaimed talker. She spends her free time with her family and writing. She's authored 8 romantic suspense novels under the pen name Selena Montgomery.
I love writing. And I like to write about the men that one day hopefully will find me. So hopefully he will step out of one of these pages and show up on my front door.
I was going to say, you have all of these books and you're single.
You know, it's hard. Dating is hard. I've been a little busy and a little focused on my career.
A career of firsts.
So when you hear the words, the first black female governor in the United States, what does that mean to you?
I'm proud, but I'm also excited because it means I'm helping change the face of what we think leadership looks like. I don't expect anyone to vote for me because I'm black. I don't expect anyone to vote for me because I'm a woman, but I expect you to know that because I'm a black woman, there are experiences that I have, there are barriers I've overcome that signal to you my resilience, my fortitude, and my ability to be a strong leader. Oh, you got one! You got one! Okay.
Should she win, Abrams says what would be even more exciting than being the first is that she wouldn't be the last.
And I want my nieces in particular to be able to look at their Aunt Stacey and say she's in charge of the state of Georgia. But more importantly, I want them to say that they could be too. Forever. Thank you so much.
In Georgia, for matter of fact, I'm Jessica Gomez.
Some big names endorsed Abrams, including Hillary Clinton, Bernie Sanders, and New Jersey Senator Cory Booker, and Senator Kamala Harris of California. In the general election, Abrams will face either Lieutenant Governor Casey Cagle or Secretary of State Brian Kemp. Neither Republican won a majority of the votes in the primary, so a runoff vote in July will determine the GOP nominee.